Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us on another episode of the Liverpool Connection podcast. This is Pub Chat. Obviously, we're not at the pub today. I'm out here in the universe trying to find answers to why the Reds played such a crappy game against Crystal Palace. But anyway, we're gonna concentrate on the Wolves match on Wednesday, a late kickoff. We're going to be playing Wolves, and I brought in a guest today that's going to give us some perspective on the Wolves side, Mr. John Evans. So, how you doing, mate?
Doing very well, thanks, Steve. Thanks very
Uh,
much for having me.
yeah, no worries. Hey, why don't you tell our listeners and viewers, where you're from, how long you've been following Wolves, and what brought you here to Austin?
Yeah, absolutely. I am born and raised from a small village around 20 minutes outside of Wolverhampton. So I've been a Wolves fan my entire life. I was a season ticket holder for about 5 years when I was a teenager, but then I had to give up the season ticket when I moved down to London. So I lived in London for around 15 years, carried on supporting Wolves there, saw a lot more disappointment than excitement. But over the last few years, it's really started to turn around, started to really see some excitement coming through the team, coming through the club. And I moved over to Austin about this time last year, with work. Now I'm sort of boring all the people that I now work with about the intricacies of Wolves and why they are, in fact, the greatest team ever to have played the game.
It's quite the statement. I met you a few weeks ago when Wolves and Liverpool played, and in the reverse fixture, and the Wolves came out victorious 3-0. It wasn't the best performance. I mean, I think you guys were up 2-0 within maybe 10, 12 minutes,
Mm.
an own goal by Matip, and then you scored another one pretty shortly thereafter, and really it changed the complexion of the game on the Liverpool side. Um, if we think about that game, and it was just for Liverpool not to get shut out, and they had 22 shots, and you got or 24 shots, and Wolves had 12 shots, and but
Mhm.
you had six big chances, and Liverpool only had one big chance throughout that whole game. So it was kind of a weird game. And if you kind of bring the bring our viewers up to speed on what your thoughts were after that game, I do have to give you a lot of respect. You were there watching with a bunch of Reds at BD Riley's, and I gave you propers because you knew the song. So I said, "Hey, when we do play them again, we'll have to bring him on. At least he knows the chants, and he knows what he's talking about." And we have to just tip our hat to you when we lose, when the Reds
Yeah,
lose. A lot of respect for you.
absolutely. I appreciate that. I guess I went into that game. I mean, not expecting that result.
Mhm.
Growing up, it was always Liverpool was this like mythical club that you never ever played, and you thought you'd be lucky to ever get a result against. I remember the first time I really remember us playing Liverpool was we were in the Premier League in like 2003, 2004, I think. And we got like a last minute equalizer. And that was like we finished bottom of the Premier League that season, something like 33 points. But that like result against Liverpool, as well as like a 1-0 win that we got against Man United, were like the highlights of it because it's
Mhm.
suddenly, wow, this is amazing. So, even in the recent, good seasons that we've had under Nuno coming back up into the Premier League, Liverpool was still that club. In our
Mhm.
first season up with Nuno, um, Liverpool were the only of the big six teams that we didn't beat in the league. We managed to beat you in the cup,
Mhm.
in the FA Cup, but it was still Liverpool. So yeah, that Saturday morning a few weeks ago, I was sort of expecting, I don't know, we were starting to see some silver linings of Lopetegui bringing in some good changes, starting to see better performances from the team. But the way that we just opened that game and
Mhm.
we just came at you right from the very start, it says itself that we were just making chances. And the one
Mhm.
thing that Wolves have experienced this season is that we just don't score goals.
Right.
So suddenly you're watching it and you're sort of pinching yourself being 2-0 up after 20 odd minutes. And
Yeah, going into that game, you guys had only scored 12 goals all season. Then you end up, get three goals. Obviously, one's an own goal, but still, um, th- kind of just it was a surprise,
yeah,
the final result. And so and what you're talking about, going at us at the very beginning, and it's something that I've kind of mentioned here in the last probably month, that if I were teams, I would come at us too. The
Mm.
players are lacking some confidence for some reason or another, playing out of the back. We're coming off the 0-0 draw with Crystal Palace, where we played back to Allison constantly,
Yeah.
more so than I remember us doing. Usually we're on the front foot going forward, but and Palace wasn't even really applying a lot of pressure, and they were just kind of staying structured. But no one seemed to have the gravitas to really take anybody on the dribble.
Mm.
Take chances, and you can just see the lack of confidence throughout the whole team. So if I was a team coming in to play Liverpool, I'd press them,
Mm.
and make them make a mistake, because this season has been really a track record of giving up goals first, and a lot of times early in the games.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you can see that from the squad. I mean, a lot's been spoken about Liverpool. Have they, it's an aging squad. Are they all sort of past it? Are they, um, providing that same level of threat? So yeah, if you can just get in their heads, get in their faces early doors. And I think with Wolves as well, that's the players that we signed in January, the players that we've had, we've got the ability to do that,
Mm-hmm.
mainly in the midfield. We've had some quality players in the team. Neves and Matinho,
Mm-hmm.
two of I think most Wolves fans would agree are like the best best players we've ever had. We've had João Matinho playing in our team now more than for longer and for more games than he's played with any other club in his
Mm-hmm.
career. Ruben Neves, I think I was saying this on that Saturday morning when we won, like he's too good for us. And I think
Mm-hmm.
we've gone into every single transfer window for the past like 3 years expecting him to leave.
Right.
And sort of like wanting him as well. And it's like we get to the end, he's still here and he's still our captain and he's still giving 100% every single game. You're like, wow, this is amazing. And I think what's really exciting is that we've got Lamina as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's just joined us. He's getting that really sort of like stuck into that like deep defensive midfielder role, which is actually unlocking Neves and letting him get a bit more involved, a bit more creative. We talk about Wolves season. It's sort of hopefully a story of two halves with the first half, Bruno Lage, just the way that the tactics he was introducing, what he was doing with the team.
Mm-hmm.
Last season at parts and earlier on this season, he was having Neves playing in like centre back because we'd sold 3 centre halves in the transfer window in the summer and then getting in. So, with the new manager, with Lopetegui coming in, with the changes he's making, it's allowing us to try and be a bit more forward in that midfield.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, the challenge that, we might see this on Wednesday as well. We've still got some of the same old problems that we've had because we don't score. I think the stat that's being thrown around a lot recently is we've now gone over a year without a striker scoring in the Premier League for Wolves, which is terrifying. We do have a lot of dominance that just doesn't turn into goals. And luck will come into that. Getting the own goal to start off against Liverpool. For Dawson's goal, the ball dropped kindly to him twice, all of that kind of stuff. So we need that luck because what's happening is we're dominating, we're getting faced, we're having real good runs, but then we'll sort of fade out and we'll let a sloppy goal in. So we did that against Bournemouth a couple of weeks ago. And to an extent, we did that against Fulham on Friday, where we were on top in the first half, and then second half we were just sort of like holding on for dear life, and ultimately conceded a bit of a wonder goal.
So you guys are going into this game. Obviously, you tied Fulham 1-1 the last game. Liverpool coming off the 0-0 draw to Crystal Palace. We're coming into this game 7th place, 9 points behind 4th place. That we're trying to get to with 2 games in hand over Spurs. Your guys are in 15th place right now, 3 points above the relegation. And in all fairness, I did pick Wolves to get relegated this season, so there's still 14 games to make that prediction come true. But they play.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but Wolves do play a brand of football that is appealing. That you don't want them to. I don't personally want them to go down because you need that kind of. I'd rather have that type of football in the Premier League than say a Burnley type. That's just route one. But so. Traditionally against Wolves, we've always seemed to have a problem with Traore and Wang. And I saw that they didn't play against Fulham. So are there any injury issues coming up into this game? Were they just being rested or rotated?
Yeah, Huang's got he's got a long-term injury. I think he went off to Korea, back to Korea for treatment on it. So he's very unlikely to play. Traore's just one of those frustrating players where, the thing that's always said about him is he's just got no end product. And I think it's just we've not found a manager that's found a way to play him properly yet. There was like a brief period where, it was after we came back of the Premier League restarted after COVID, the lockdowns, and he hit like a rich vein of form with Jimenez. So sort of like being able to do what he does, get down and finally sort of find a way to get that final ball into the box. And that's just sort of it. It's like no one really knows what the best way to use Traore. Like, do you start him from the start and try and have that intensity right from it? Or do you bring him on 60, 70 minutes when people are tired, get him running, get some tired legs? He scares people. And that's why he's good. People put baby oil on his arms because his arm kept getting like yanked out of socket because people just have to pull him back and do that. So yeah, I mean, Traore is a frustrating player, and it's going to be interesting because I think it's still pretty early days for Lopetegui, but yeah, hopefully he can get some of that form that we know he's capable of. He just is so inconsistent with it.
Obviously, you've had 6 wins, 6 losses. The rest have been draws. So there's your lack of consistency on the Wolves side, right? And for Liverpool, half the supporters, we don't even know what sort of team is going to show up. Are they going to play on the back foot? Or are they just going to go around playing timidly? That obviously we're also coming off the 5-2 loss to Real Madrid midweek last week. So there's not a lot of confidence, I don't think, going into this game this weekend. And then that kind of scares some people because we do need to, on the Liverpool side, pick up results to try to get back up to the 4th place. And, there's 16 games left and there's still time to do it. A lot of points to play for. And there's going to be a lot of changes, obviously, in the table between now and the end of the season. But, we played a midfield of Milner, Keita, and Henderson on the weekend, and I don't think any supporter of Liverpool wanted that midfield, and we kind of got what we thought we were going to get with that midfield. Right? It was very defensive minded, no creativity at all. So I don't even know what the options would be on the Liverpool side. Bring in back Sedic, our 18-year-old. What kind of world is it for Liverpool now? We're counting on an 18-year-old in the center of the park to really be our engine. And he's been the most positive player in the last month, besides Nunez up top, who is now nursing an injury, his shoulder. So that really hurts Liverpool because through all the faults that have been said about Nunez this season, he is an agent of chaos. He creates. He's a mismatch, just like a Troy or on your side, with a little bit more finished product. And so we'll really miss him up front. We do have Jota, the old Wolves player, coming back. He's still finding his legs. Firmino's back. And so it's the midfield and then the defense, where those are normally have been our strong points. And right now it's a toss up on who's going to partner with Van Dijk. If Trent will play again, because I thought the last match he could have been yanked at halftime. Just his form in the first half was so poor. And so the Klopp has a lot of thinking to do about the lineup coming in this weekend. And, one of the things that on the Wolves side, you lost Connor Cody, to Everton. And how has that affected them? I mean, it seems like, he was your main defender. I know you're bringing in Dawson, and they're different types of defenders, though.
Yeah, I think the thing that everyone would say about Cody is that he was never, he played the role that he played really well, which is that sort of center of the back five. He was so vocal. You could hear him constantly and sort of doing it. And like, he was really good at distributing the ball as well. The ball would come back to him. He'd be able to distribute it. Going back a few seasons when on the one wing we'd have Jota and the other hand we'd have Traore. the counter attacks that we'd get from that, a lot of like, Cody being able to release it. So I think in the summer, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, one of the biggest things that like left us really like all fans like scratching their heads was, we let Cody, Roman Saiz and Willy Bolly all go.
Mm-hmm.
And they were pretty much our back three for the first 3 seasons of us in the Premier League. So suddenly we just lost a lot of experience. We've got Max Kilman, who's got a really great future ahead of him. And I think, if he had a dip of form about this time last year, had he not had that, I think there's a high chance he would have been at the World Cup with England. Mm. Like he's a really, really solid player. But yeah, one of the problems that we had was we had like suddenly we went from having a really experienced back line to having a lot of inexperience. Mm-hmm. So, Kilman and, we signed Collins and he never really looked fully there. So suddenly it became even more apparent, like this is what we was really missing, like someone who was going to marshal that defense, tell us what to do, because there. So hopefully what we've seen of Craig Dawson, I think he seems to be bringing that in. So that's it. But yeah, I'd say Cody, we're not necessarily missing his defensive ability. We're missing what he brings to the squad as a whole, right. What he brings to the team.
Yeah. So before we sign off, I wanted to just, over the January transfer window, Liverpool was, they were talking about a lot of rumor about bringing in Mateus Nunes over from you guys, right? Do you see that Wolves will be able to keep him through the summer, or do you think he'll be gone through the summer?
I don't know. Really, it's a bit of a funny one. Like there was massive news when we signed him. He's sort of came with all this fanfare, all the chat around like Pep rating him so highly, all this kind of stuff. And I wouldn't say he's exactly set the world alight with it. He's clearly a player. He gets the ball, he likes to run forwards with it, likes to be proactive. I don't know, really. It's the fact that straight away after, a few months after signing him and him not being, brilliant, he's already being linked with Liverpool and Chelsea. Makes you think that like Uncle George Mendes is maybe doing maybe at work there, but I don't know. Yeah, he could be going. I think for me, if we can just keep Neves for as long as possible.
Right. All right. So prediction time. What's your prediction of the score for this game?
I mean, we're not going to repeat. To be honest, this is the 4th time we're playing you in about 3 months. Bit bored of playing Liverpool now, to be honest.
That's right.
I don't know. I'm going to say 2-1 Wolves.
Okay, I'm going the reverse. I'm going 2-1 Reds.
Okay.
Since they're playing at Anfield, hopefully the home support that has really gotten a bollocking after that Real Madrid game. Hopefully they'll come back in full force and provide some atmosphere there. Yeah. And so, last question: you're going to be at the pub to watch the game?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get you a pint, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you, mate. So thanks for coming out. Everyone else, thank you for joining us. Subscribe, like, set your notifications, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much. Cheers.